Hey everybody, uh, Graz the Ailing back. Um, Not in my usual place. Uh, AJ's at work. The daughter is filming me on her phone, and I'm sorry. I know that we promised cosplays and skits for Doctor Sleep the movie, but I'm not really feeling it, and I don't know when I will. You get a mini cosplay, because I'm portraying the baseball boy who, you know, gets killed and eaten. So, blood and then everything. Um, anyway, this is the movie. It's Doctor Sleep. This is the long-awaited, hopefully, part 5 in our Shining series. This is probably the worst part of the series, because this movie was, I mean, I struggled to find positives. I did find a few, but it's basically like a piece of used toilet paper. My apologies to the actors and actresses and all the people who worked on it. It's not your fault. You were dealt such a dead hand. But anyway, I'll just get into it because I don't want the daughter of Graz to get a sore arm holding up her phone, because that'll probably happen.
It's already sore. I mean.
So there you go. Well, let's get through this. I'll start with the negatives. I got my paper here. I'm going to read right from it like I usually do. Okay. The negatives. Number 1. Jack is made out to be completely bad in this movie. He has no redeeming qualities. There's none of the book Jack in here. It's basically, as far as Jack is concerned, this is a pure sequel to the Kubrick movie where Jack really had no redeeming qualities at all. He was just insane, and he hated his wife, and then he easily was convinced to go kill his son. So I was disappointed with that. It's I don't know. I don't understand why the movie removed the part about the True Knot getting the measles from the baseball boy. I thought that was really cool in the book because it was a way for them to get sick and die over something that most of us are vaccinated against. And the movie just totally removed that. They just get shot, they cycle out, and they're gone. Let's see. This movie truly does. I know it's a sequel to a movie, and there's parts of it that's kind of a sequel to a book. I get that, but it relies way too much on prior knowledge on the viewer's part of both the movie, the miniseries, and the book. And it actually relies on too much knowledge of the book Doctor Sleep itself. I mean, I realize it's an adaptation, but don't you think that a properly done adaptation should kind of be able to tell its story without needing the person to know the book? Like, my dad was trying to watch this and he was completely lost. And we had literally just watched the miniseries and the movie, and he was still lost because it relies too much on the book knowledge too. That was pretty bad. I thought that it weakened the True Knot a lot. This is number 4. When they convinced the baseball boy, Bradley Trevor, to get in the van, I think it weakened them a lot in the movie that they needed Snakebite Andy to just be like, oh, you need a ride. You want to get in the van with us. I mean, that was pathetic because in the book, it was either Crow Daddy or Barry the Chink, or both, that convince Brad that they're good guys, and that he can trust them to give him a ride home, and that's why he gets in the van. It's pretty pathetic that they have to take that away. The movie kind of makes the True Knot into these hollow caricatures of what they could have been, all except for one of them, which we'll get to. Number 5, Pain purifying the steam is far too much like Pain salting the meat from Pennywise in the It movies. It's just... Anyway, number 6, in the book, the True Knot had a semblance of compassion. I mean, obviously they were like wild animals, and they instinct alone. You know, we need to kill to eat. We need to eat to survive. We're just following our urges. But they had a little bit of compassion, because back to the baseball boy, when he is laying there and they're about to do their thing to him, he asks Rose, "Are you going to hurt me?" And her answer is, "I really wish I could tell you no." In the movie, he says, "Are you going to hurt me?" And Rose just flat out, "Yes." And then they start cutting him. And then there's a scene where Barry, who is now Barry the Chunk, by the way, because we have to tone down everything for the politically correct mob out there, which, come on. If we choose to ignore our problems, then we make them into bigger problems. That's my political soapbox. Cancel me if you will. But Barry is laughing at Brad and mocking him with his baseball glove and everything. And they weren't like that. He wore it in the book. He wore the glove in the book, sorry. But he wasn't mocking the kid in the book. In the movie, he's mocking him. Okay, for those of you that know actors, I'm almost 100% certain that Barry is played by Donald Logue. And if you know who that guy is, he brings his particular brand of comedy and comedic timing into this role, where he's sarcastic and he's making fun of people. Didn't fit at all. Anyway, moving on. Number 7, Abra's abilities are a joke. I mean, come on. What is she, Doctor Strange? She turns the world upside down. You know, she could do it. It's like she's completely superpowered, and she's unbeatable. She is the OP character that makes it so that the bad guys technically have no chance.
She's a Mary Sue.
All right, whatever that means, everybody. Okay. Number 8. Since when did Dan call his shine Tony? He never did. He never called his shine Tony. He called his imaginary friend Tony, that he used the shine to communicate with, but he never once called the shine Tony. And he just flat out in this stupid movie tells Abra, "Yeah, I used to call mine Tony." I almost threw something at the TV. Just want to let you know. The ending, number 9, the ending, where, now remember, obviously, you're following this thing. There's obviously spoilers, whatever. Dan is a ghost, and he's teaching Abra about the lock boxes in his head. Oh. That was pathetic. I mean, seriously. The movie should have ended with Abra standing in front of the burning overlook and the first responders coming. Number 10, the second worst thing of all in this book, Billy's death. That is the second worst thing in this book. Or in this movie. I'm sorry, in this movie. I have a hard time making a difference because they're connected. But Billy is one of the best characters in the book and the movie. And he gets a raw deal here. Because until he dies in a stupid way, his is the only character arc in the whole movie that fits the book. It's really it made us all pretty mad. And number 11, the worst thing is the plot hole. And I just keep going back to it, and I realize that this is a story that was written, 50 years or something after the original story was written, and that these ideas weren't there yet. But it's still, Stephen King wrote himself into a corner, because if the True Knot is centuries old, how did they miss Danny and Dick when they were shining all over the place at the Overlook originally? It doesn't make sense, and I hate it. Anyway, that's the negatives. I'm going to try, we'll finish on the positives like always. Number 1 is Rose. Rose the Hot. I wear a funny hat. My very special friends call me Rose. Rose the Hot. Rebecca Ferguson plays her perfectly. She's gorgeous, she's dark, she's evil, she's strong. It's just wondrous casting. I mean, the only thing that she's missing is, like I said, that tiny little bit of compassion from the book. Like, I'm really sorry we have to do what we have to do, but we're still going to do it. Stephen King writes that regret really well. He does it, I mean, like in Stand By Me, The Body, he writes it very well too. He's very good at writing regret. Anyway. Number 2, I think that aside from Donald Logue, who just can't stop making jokes and trying to be funny, I'm pretty sure that's him. The rest of the Knot are okay cast. The ones that you actually talk to or get to know, because there's a couple of them that are basically just there as window dressing, and they're just hollow, anonymous background characters. They don't even barely get names except in the credits. Like the daughter here was waiting for Silent Sari to show up, and all along she was on the screen. We just didn't know it because they never talked to her. They never mentioned her by name. And then she's shot, cycled, and gone. Didn't know it until we looked at the credits to see who people were. So, but the ones like Grandpa Flick and Crow Daddy and Rose are very well cast. Number 3 of the positives is Billy. His character is basically kept the same. He's a great character from the book. He's a great character from the movie. Although, it kind of feels like in the movie they combined Billy's character with, there's no way I'm going to remember this guy's name, but it was the guy who actually becomes Danny's sponsor in AA. There's no way I'm going to remember that, so it's okay. But they combine, but that's okay. It works in the movie. It really does. Billy actually makes a better sponsor because the casual viewer wouldn't understand why there needed to be those two people who trusted in Dan. Number 4 is probably one of my favorite things from the movie because, well, Grandpa Flick, and I can't remember I'm sorry, I should have wrote it down, and I could look it up, but I'm not going to do that. Grandpa Flick is played by the actor who played the original Lurch in the old 60s Addams Family TV show. Like the original black and white with John Astin, and I think it's Carolyn Monroe. That might be wrong. I think that is. But you rang. I mean, it's pretty cool. Now, he's old, trust me, and I don't think he lived much past this movie. But it's pretty cool that, And what's funny is the first time we watched this movie, he's standing there and he's giving a sermon, and I made the joke, "Easy there, Lurch." And then I started looking at him, and I looked it up, and it is Lurch. And I know that might sound like, oh yeah, he's just putting on airs trying to make us think he's that smart, and I'm not. But that is something I'm good at. I'm really good at spotting people in things. So now number 5, we all kind of liked the actual doctor sleep aspect of the movie, where Dan and Azzy the cat go to the elderly people who are dying and ease their pain, make them feel less scared, and make them remember fun things that they're going towards. I really hope that get a little somber here. I really hope that death is really like that. That you aren't scared, and that you remember happy things that you might be going towards. And I'm really sorry for that somber tone. We just found out today that we lost a very good old family friend. And that's part of why we're not really working through the cosplays and everything today, because yeah. And if you just heard that moan, that was Jack, who you all remember. You can go ahead and show Jack.
Baby.
Jack. Okay. Are we good again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 6. The death of the baseball boy, Bradley Trevor. And that's who I'm trying to be. We could have used a little more blood, but we ran out. You get the idea, though. And he was number 19. And if you know, you know. The scene is, and again, aside from that from losing that bit of compassion, is perfect. It's horrific. It's vivid. I mean, there's blood all over all of the true knot. They were prolonging the torture. At the end, they don't miss a drop of the steam. Not even a little bit. Even after he's basically dead, they're like, It's violent, visceral, overdone, upsettingly graphic. It's honestly probably the best part, the best scene in the movie. And if you read the trivia, the kid did it so well and screamed so real that all the actors needed a break afterwards. For real. They were just so affected by it. It was almost as if they had just seen a real child get murdered. So that kid's got a future, I think. Maybe he should have been a Danny in something. Number 7, the way they show the true knot dying is intense. They don't just die, they cycle, which, they shake on the ground, they fade in and out, you see their skeletons, they make these horrific, terrifying growling sounds, and then, poof. And then what's really cool is, once they poof out, well, at least, when Grandpa Flick does it.
I'm sorry, Dad.
When Grandpa Flick does it, sorry about that. I'm talking too long, so her arm's getting sore. We won't do that this way again, trust me. I lost track. Oh, when Grandpa Flick cycles out and he poofs into steam, they like vampires. And it's pretty cool. And then they're just gone. So, number 8, I really like the homage, whatever, the nod to the original Shining and even the miniseries when Abra and Dan are driving to the Overlook, and it shows the island in the lake, and it's got the music going like from the original movie, and then it shows overhead them driving on the road. That's a great nod, because that's one of those iconic shots from the original movie that everybody who's seen it remembers. You see that and you immediately know they're going to the Overlook. Number 9, I guess, the conversation in the bar between Danny and Lloyd, who is clearly supposed to be Jack, is pretty good. It kind of gives a little bit of closure with Jack, I guess. Like I said, I was stretching here to try and come up with positives. Number 10, Rose in the Maze. Yeah. I mean, that takes the coolest part of the 1980 movie and the coolest part of this whole sequel thing, The Maze and Rose, and puts them together. And it's amazing. And then how she figures out that it's not Abra's mind they're in, and that she's just the bait. Oh, it's great. So that's the positives. Overall, I mean, I get why Steve wrote the sequel. There was a clamor for it. He wanted to see Danny Torrance grown up, which is fine. He's written some clunkers. This is a clunker, and that's fine. But this movie is it should have been. It's an abortion. It should have been an abortion. They should have just moved on because it's terrible. It shouldn't have been made, and I'm very happy to finally be moving on from this series. It started out fun, and it ended awful. If I could do this in reverse, I would have, but it wouldn't have made sense. And that's Dr. Sleep, the movie. Well, the best quote, in my opinion, was when Crow Daddy is cycling, and Abra's standing there, and she says, "I hope that hurts a lot." It's delivered very well. Honestly, Kaylee Curran, who plays Abra, is a great actress for how young she is. And I actually do see big things in her future, too. And I guess while we're here, it's kind of neat to see Mr. England himself. I think England? He's from the UK. Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, from the prequels, and the show, I guess. It's great to hear him doing an American accent. It's very interesting. He's very good at it. Very good. I mean, obviously he's a great actor, but there's no hint. Like, they didn't even try to, like, okay, well, you're so good, you should just play it British. No. You would actually think he's from here.
Yeah, he's Millie Bobby Brown good.
And that tells you another one of our favorites. Millie Bobby Brown, you'd never guess that she's British by watching Stranger Things. Anyway, all I have left for you is my unpopular opinion. And this might actually rankle some feathers. For those of you that actually watch and care enough. Mike Flanagan is not a good director. I don't think he is. I mean, he was the wrong choice for this project, unless all they were going for was a sequel and a fan service to Stanley Kubrick. He tried too hard. I mean, the story was there. Just make it. You know? And speaking of fan service and trying too hard, he forced in Dark Tower references. You know, like number 19. And Ka is a wheel. I do not remember Dick Halloran saying Ka is a wheel in this book. I just don't. And there's other references to the Dark Tower. I mean, it's just sucking up to fans. And for me, it weakens it. Of course, like I said, that's an unpopular opinion, I think, and it's mine. So, anyway, this was our movie, or our video for the adaptation to the sequel that should never have been. Roast me if you want in the comments. I welcome it. And I'm sorry, like I said, for not giving you a skit. maybe we'll do one for Dolores Claiborne, which is the next book on the Stephen King list. Anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough. I'm not sure what's going to come next, but I think this is day 6 in Vlogmas, and I needed to get something out, and I didn't want to do another short because I've done 2 of those, and I'm trying to get out content, trying to grow. So thank you to everybody who comments and all that stuff. Thank you to the daughter of Graz for being 99% perfect in this video, in this viewing. Trust me, beatings will continue until morale improves here.
For you, maybe.
And read more.